Так, окей. Что я, наверное, хочу, так это, подождите, надо же включить захват экрана. Так, теперь... Окей. Так, погнали, значит, начнем, наверное, с Obsidian. Sharpen your thinking. Sharpen your thinking. Просмотры 0. God. Так, окей. Get Obsidian for Windows. Погнали. Погнали, гайсы. Уведомление мне пришло, о май гад. Что за уведомление? Ниже рекомендованного. Блин, ну это этот, как его, провайдер дебильный. Дебильный провайдер. Это пипец, конечно. Но, не знаю. Наверное, надо терпеть, я не знаю. Так, ну ладно. Obsidian 1.6.3. Quick start. Не помню, как он называется. А, а, Опа, первый комментарий. Так, ладно, я пойду отпраздную, возьму себе попить. Здорово, шафтовод. Шафтовод. Только не говори, что ты в танке онлайн играешь на шафте. Потому что если это так, то... О май гад. Так, шафтовод, ты не написал, да, красавчик? Короче, ладно, я отпраздную. Ты шо, первый комментарий, как бы. Блин, невозможно есть. Насчет вот этого не уверен. Угу. Окей, то есть, в принципе, можно будет куда-то сюда перейти и отсюда. Окей. Выберите имя файла для создания. Окей, я думаю, погнали туда. Так, и, соответственно, FreeDOS. Так, можно скинуть сюда ссылочку. Так вот. Крутяк. Да. Окей, тут. Не знаю. Нет, это не то. Full карта. Кусок. На который выбили данные, ну, по сути, дырки. Их по сути это как флешка. Сейчас пойду яблоко, наверное, возьму. Що? Окей. Не. Ну, тут есть вот какая-то такая шляпа. Не знаю, давайте. Давай. Так, прервано. Настроить носители. О, может флоппи, пацаны.
Hi everyone. I wanted to do a special video to celebrate hitting 3,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So here is the much requested video tour of my office. So this is my desk where I do all my work on FreeDOS, record all the videos, work on the website, do all the coding, things like that. And that's where everything is happening. So that's a ThinkCentre Tiny machine, and I'll put the specs for that if you're curious in the video description. On its right, I have a TARDIS USB hub. I'm a huge fan of classic Doctor Who, and so I picked up this TARDIS USB hub from ThinkGeek when ThinkGeek was still alive, and so I use that one actually quite a bit. I also want to show off my piece of art back here. So this piece of art comes from, I'm not quite sure, I can't quite read the artist there, but this is a number of penguins marching off to Redmond, and I picked that one up years ago at a conference in Wisconsin called WisCon, and it's one of my favorite pieces of art in this room. Over here are all my books on my bookshelf. Now we've got a number of bookshelves spread throughout the house, but these are just some of the books that I use all the time. You can see I've got a number of books up here that refer to sort of the business consulting that I do. So you can see Mythical Man Month, Quiet, which is a really good book, The World is Flat by Friedman, Hit Refresh by Satya Nadella, also the Open Organization books over there. On the bottom shelf, I've got a number of FreeDOS books, and so you can see I've got the C Programming Language by Kernighan and Ritchie. I've got the Borland C++ User Manual. Of course, I got the copy of the FreeDOS kernel from Pat Villani, and a number of other books back there, like the MS-DOS Programmer's Manual, things like that. I also have, over here, next to my recycling, a number of other books that have been given to me recently. I haven't actually done anything with them yet in terms of sorting them. You can see here I've got the Structure and Interpretation of Computer Programs. I've got the Lisp Second Edition. I'm not actually a Lisp programmer, but it's one of those things you kind of like, you know, can I learn it? And so we'll see if I can learn that. That's the Yeti microphone that I use for recording all my videos, and just sort of over there is my sort of bin full of stuff. Up here, I'm also a huge Star Wars nerd, and so my brother-in-law gave me this art. And I really like it. It shows all the different ships in the more recent Star Wars movies. And over here, of course, more of my Doctor Who fandom. So you can see this is a sort of a tin plate piece of art that was picked up, and that's the box, or the info rectangle is on the police box. And then down below is a bunch of stamps. Those are Doctor Who stamps, showing all of the classic Doctors and the new Doctors, right? And then over here behind me, this is not usually what you see behind me on the videos because I try not to show it, but that's my couch that I have in my office. That folds out if we ever have guests and they need to have an extra bed. We actually have an extra guest bedroom, but this is sort of, I guess, the spare guest bedroom. And usually that blanket is sitting on top of my couch because I have a cat who really likes to be in a cat tent in there. She was going to be part of this video today, but she just wandered away. Behind it, I have a wall safe that's normally covered by a piece of art, but this thing has a leak in it. This came with the house. This is not something that I actually picked up, and so it's developed a leak, and so we're doing some work in here to try and repair the leak that's happening from outside. And then back here is a piece of art, and this is normally where the key to that safe would live. And I guess I'm showing you which key it is based on which one has the empty slot in it. In case you're curious, this piece of art was made by my wife a couple of years ago because I, again, really a fan of classic Doctor Who, and that came from an episode called Invasion of Time. That's my window to the outside. I have a basement office, and so I usually try to hide the fact that it's a basement window with these long drapes. Kind of fools me into thinking that I'm actually in an inside regular floor. And so if you close those drapes, it kind of feels like you're on the main level. Over here is my credenza. You can sometimes see this over my left shoulder when I'm recording videos, when I'm on camera. Of course, I've got my printer there. Inside the credenza itself, I've got, of course, a number of sort of knickknacks or just things I need to deal with, some papers and things like that. But I also have a Raspberry Pi sitting on the bottom shelf there. You can probably kind of see it there in the front. And that Raspberry Pi is driving my printer over the network.
Да, будут
And then sort of Turning around over here, I've got the just an office, but it's an old bedroom, and so that's just my closet that I have things in. On there, I have an easel pad. I do consulting, I do training and workshops and coaching, and so that was one of the plus deltas at the end of one of my more recent engagements. And then over here, back into the door, I've got actually this over here is kind of neat. So this you can have calendars made up based on photos that you have. And so this is a calendar that we made with each month is a different photo of our cats. We had 3 cats up until March this year, and then Fafner passed away. But we have Zoe is this month for looking at November. And then next month, I think, is December. Well, December, obviously, but if that will be, that'll be Fafner there, sleeping under a Christmas tree. So, yeah, you can...
Не, чувак, это не серьезно. Так, я думаю, что, наверное, надо посортировать немножко старые. Using FreeDOS, CD and DIR. Погнали.
Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the FreeDOS channel. You know, I've wanted to do these videos for a while about how do you use FreeDOS, how do you get the most out of FreeDOS. And you know, FreeDOS is an old operating system, and maybe some people don't know how to use it. So I figured we'll do a short video today about how do you navigate your way around FreeDOS. So let's begin. So here I have FreeDOS 1.2. I've just done a bare install on this to use the demo. Now there's 2 commands that will get you most of the way around DOS, and those are dir and cd. So dir gives you a directory, it shows you a listing of what's in a directory, and the first time I run it needs to do a little bit of math to figure out how much free space is there. But there I've got a directory of my C drive. FDOS is the directory where we install everything inside FreeDOS, and there's a couple other files there that actually are the kernel, for example, and then configuration files to boot up your system. But today let's look inside that FDOS directory. So to go inside the FDOS directory, you're going to use the cd command. So cd into FDOS. And by the way, all commands in DOS can be uppercase or lowercase, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be typing lowercase today. So I'm inside the FDOS directory, and I'm going to do another dir to see what's in here. And you can see all the directories that are part of a standard FreeDOS install. Now, a really interesting directory here is the doc directory. There's a lot of documentation included with FreeDOS, and that's where we put it, inside that doc directory. So let's go into the cd doc. Let's go into the doc directory, and let's see what's there. Now, this is going to be a very long list, so when I do a dir, you're going to see that it's going to prompt me to see more of this directory listing. And that's just because there's a lot of files in here. Now, if I wanted to see all of that in a better way, I actually can use what's called a wide directory, and that's dir, and then we give it the option of /w.
Пипец, почему у меня нет этой фигни? Dir, doc. Да.
W, and that gives me a wide format directory. Now I lose a little bit of detail on here. I don't see the last time it was modified, for example, but it allows me to see everything that's on the screen, everything in that directory at one time. If this were a really, really big directory, I'd get more prompting, but in most cases, dir/w will let you see everything that's in there. Now, there's some other interesting stuff in here in that, what if you wanted to see more of what's in there? So, you know, we've got some directories in there. We could go in each one of those directories one at a time and see what's inside them. But a better way to do it is to actually use this other command called tree. I'm going to do this from the top directory, and so there's a couple ways to get there. One, so you'll notice that every directory has a dot and a dot in it. And those are actually shorthands, shortcuts. Dot is always the current directory. Dot always points to the previous directory. So one way to get to the previous directory is to do cd ... and that brings me up one directory. If I wanted to go to the top of the directory, I actually could also type cd /, and that will get me to the top of that directory tree. Now, I want to see everything that's inside my directory. Remember, here I've only got one directory plus a whole bunch of stuff under it. So let's do the command tree. This will tell me everything that's that's inside this disk. So tree is going to give me quite a long output. And you can see I've got a lot of stuff inside that doc directory, and then just a couple of things at the end. So there was a lot there, and maybe we missed something. And so you can pipe this into another command that will posit it.
Так, короче, сейчас мы это все задокументируем, чтобы он офигел просто. Так, значит, ну, во-первых, нате ссылку. Во-вторых, no doc folder, node recommend. Okay.
At the end of each screen, and that is tree, and we're going to pipe that into the more command. And here it's going to run the tree command, and now it's going to run it into pipe, and you can see it's going to prompt me to hit a key to see the next screen. And so I'm seeing this one screen at a time. Very easy to see everything that's in here. In this way, if I felt like I missed something with the big tree command, I can go back and see what's in there. Now, let's play with making a directory. So it's great to see what's on your drive, but let's actually make a new directory. So again, remind ourselves what we have in here. We have the FDOS is the only other directory, plus a couple of files. Let's go ahead and make a new directory. And make dir is how you make a new directory. In this case, we're going to create a new temporary directory just for this test, and we're going to call it temp. And if I do a dir, you can see that there it is. And now let's go into that temp directory. And if I do a dir, you can see there's nothing in there. I see dot and I see dot dot. That will always be in a subdirectory. Let's go ahead and make two subdirectories. Just for the test, let's go ahead and make dir sub1. So we'll make a directory called sub1. Make dir sub2. We'll make another directory called sub2. So if I do a dir, you can see my sub1 and my sub2 directories. Now, if I go into just one of those directories and create a file, cd sub1, see there's nothing in there right now, but I can create a file by using the echo command. And I'm just going to say the word hello, and I'm going to put it into a file called hello.txt. And I can see I've created a file called hello.txt.
Okay.
Now, if I back up one directory, I can actually see exactly what's inside the directory. I don't have to go into that directory. I can just say dir sub1, and you can see that there's my hello.txt file. Now if I do a dir on sub2, there's nothing there because I haven't created anything yet. Now I can, let's go ahead and clean up after myself. Now I can remove these directories, and one way to do it is with the rumdir command, and let's remove the sub2 directory. Okay, that worked, right? Do a dir, sub2 is not there anymore. Let's do rumdir on sub1. Now there's a file in it, so it fails. So how do we do that? We could go into that sub1 directory and we could delete all the files that are in there. In this case, there's only one file. That would be pretty easy. If I wanted to delete a directory that had a lot of files in it, an easier way to do that is actually with del tree. And so with del tree, I can remove the sub1 directory, and it's going to say, do you really want to delete everything in there? Yes, I do. And now it's deleted sub1. And you can see that now that directory is empty. Now I can do the same thing by backing up one directory and deleting my temp directory. Again, I could do rumdir or I could do del tree, and in this case we'll just happen to do rumdir temp because there's nothing in there. And that's the basics of getting around in FreeDOS. We just showed you the cd command, the dir command, and a couple other commands that will help you create directories or move directories and do a little cleanup. And that's all there is for this episode of how to get around FreeDOS.
Так, окей. Одно видео есть. Видео старое. Using FreeDOS ftconfig.sys.
So how does FreeDOS start up? And what does this menu mean? If you've ever wondered how FreeDOS starts up and really what that menu is about, then this episode is for you. Because today I want to talk about how does FreeDOS get started, and then how do you control what's happening every time it boots up? And the answer to that is with the name of a file called fdconfig.sys. So let's get started. So here I've got my FreeDOS 1.2, and if I do a dir, you'll see I've got the fdos directory where we've installed everything for FreeDOS 1.2, and then I have 4 files. autoexec.bat and command.com. I'll cover in another video, but this one I want to focus on the bottom 2. Kernel.sys is actually the FreeDOS kernel, and that's actually what is getting executed when you boot up the computer. Now you're controlling how FreeDOS boots itself through the file called fdconfig.sys. It's named that way, by the way, because MS-DOS uses a file called config.sys. And when we first created FreeDOS, a lot of people were installing FreeDOS on the same machine that already had MS-DOS on it. And we wanted a way for people to boot up FreeDOS and just have a config file for FreeDOS. And so that's why we called it fdconfig.sys. So let's look at that file. So I'm going to use a DOS command called type, and we're going to look at the file called fdconfig.sys. Because type is just going to show the contents of the file. So you can see at the top, the top line is set DOS-dir equals c:\fdos, and that sets the path to the FreeDOS directory. Then I have some lines that start with an exclamation point. And that's a unique thing to FreeDOS. That's not actually from the old MS-DOS config.sys. This is actually unique to FreeDOS fdconfig.sys. And what that exclamation point means is those commands will always get executed when you boot up FreeDOS. So it's always going to set the country, it's going to set last drive, buffers, files, and menu color. I'll come back to menu color later. Then we have some lines that actually define the menu. So menu default equals 1, 5. So that means that if you don't do anything, it's going to pick the first menu item, 1, if you don't do anything within 5 seconds. That's where that 5 comes from. And then we have some menu lines that actually define the menu itself. And then down below we have some lines that might look a little confusing because they've got 1 or more numbers with a question mark and then an fdconfig.sys instruction. And so what that means is that those numbers and then the question mark, that basically tells the menu, okay, so if someone has selected menu item number 1 and I have a 1 in front of that list, then I'm going to execute that line. So just to walk through that, the menu default is 1. And so what are the lines that are getting set when you select menu item number 1? Menu item number 1 is going to load FreeDOS with JMMX with no EMS, and it's going to give you the most memory free. So what's going to happen is it'll still always execute at the top the set DOS-dir. It'll execute the country and the last drive and the buffers and the files. And then all of the lines down at the bottom that have a 1 in them before the question mark, those will get run as well. And so we've got DOS equals high, and that's going to tell FreeDOS to load itself into high memory. And you need to have a high memory manager, which is JMMX. DOS equals UMB, and that's going to tell FreeDOS to keep a link between upper memory and conventional memory. DOS data equals UMB means it's going to try and load the FreeDOS kernel into upper memory blocks. And then it's going to load device equals c:\fdos /bin /JMMX, and then some options. And that's actually the JMMX memory manager. It's not going to load the high mem. It's not going to load the other JMMM 386 because we don't have a 1 before the question mark on the left-hand side. It's not going to load the first of the two command comms because that one doesn't have a 1 before the question mark either. And now the last line it's going to execute is the shell high command to start the command comm interpreter. So let's actually edit this file and make it do something different. So we're going to use the edit command, and we're going to edit the fdconfig.sys, and I wanted to talk about menu color. So when you boot up FreeDOS, you saw the menu was in a white text on a black background. That's what 7, 0 means. DOS can always display 16 text colors. And color number 0 is black. Color number 7 is the sort of grayish white that we're looking at here on the screen. Now, and that's why 7, being that white, 0, black, means that you're doing white on black. Now, in the editor here, we've got white text on a blue background. And so let's change the FreeDOS boot menu to use that color. And so the color code for blue is 1. So we're going to get rid of the 0 and replace it with a 1. Let's go ahead and save the file. And we'll go ahead and exit the file. And now when I do a reboot, the only thing I've changed now is the menu color. And you can see here that now we've got white text on that blue background. So you can change the color of the menu to something that you like better, if you like something better than white on black. And so once my computer boots up here, then I'll go ahead and I'll try something else in the fdconfig.sys. So let's try editing the fdconfig.sys one more time. And let's actually add another menu item. So these menus, they allow you to give some flexibility to FreeDOS every time you boot it. We give you the option to load JMMX or to load the EMM386 expanded memory manager, or to try and load FreeDOS without any drivers at all, or to just load FreeDOS low with a couple of drivers in kind of that quote-unquote safe mode. Let's add another menu item. And to do that, we're going to add another menu item here. So we're going to say menu 5. And in this case, we're not going to really do anything. So we'll call this one do nothing. Okay, so that's my menu item. And then down here, we need to make sure there's a menu item or a number on this directive that actually menu item 5 can act against. We don't have 5 here, so if we actually just save the file as is and try to reboot, we wouldn't actually be able to select that menu item number 5 because there's nothing down here at the bottom that actually says 5. So let's actually create one. So let's do 5 question mark. So that means that this line will get executed only when we're doing menu item number 5. And in this case, we're going to do just the command comm. So C shell equals C colon fdos bin command dot com. Now, up above, you can see on that 3-4 line that this one also sets some other parameters, including the environment size, and /p says it should be a permanent shell, and it should load autoexec.bat when it starts. Down on this one, we're not actually going to do that. So it's going to be very interesting and very short boot process because we're not actually going to process anything in autoexec.bat. Also will mean that we won't have an environment. But that's okay, because we're going to end the video there. So let's go ahead and save the file. And we'll go ahead and exit. And now let's go ahead and reboot the computer. And as it boots up, you can see that we have that white text on a black background, or a blue background. And we're going to select item number 5, which does nothing. And so this will load nothing out of the fdconfig.sys because the only thing it had to load was the command comm, and we told it that it was not going to load an autoexec.bat, so it's just going to immediately start off and give us a command prompt. And so we've asked it to do that, and immediately we get a command prompt, and that's it. Because, by the way, we asked it to start up without using autoexec.bat, none of the commands in autoexec.bat got started. And in fact, if I type set to see what my environment looks like, I actually have pretty much a minimal environment. So this is actually not very helpful. But I wanted to be able to show how that menu item worked. So thanks for watching this episode of the FreeDOS channel. Please visit our website, support us on Patreon, and visit us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you. So let's look at some DOS applications. You know, DOS is really known for working in an office, and what's more of an office application than a spreadsheet? So today we're going to look at the original spreadsheet program, VisiCalc. So VisiCalc is was the first spreadsheet program for personal computers. It was originally written for the Apple II, and it was released for DOS about 2 years later. Now, because it's the first spreadsheet, you're going to find it's maybe a bit simpler than other spreadsheets you're used to. It certainly doesn't have the same level of functionality of today's spreadsheets, but I think you'll find that once you get used to it, it becomes kind of familiar. Now, there's not much to VisiCalc. If I do a dir in here, you'll see that I only have one file for VisiCalc, vc.com. It's about 27.5K. Let's go ahead and run that. And once I run it, you see that So when we created FreeDOS, it was really important to have a text editor that was simple that anybody could use. But just because it's simple doesn't mean that it lacks in features. So today I wanted to show just a couple of the features in the FreeDOS text editor called Edit. So the standard text editor called Edit, and all you need to do to bring that up is just type Edit. I could type a file on the command line that would allow me to instantly start editing a file. In this case, I want to show the editor without any files loaded first. So just type edit and hit return, and that brings up the editor. And you can see I've got the menu at the top of the screen. To go into that menu, if you have a mouse driver loaded, you could just move the mouse over one of those items and click on it, just like most interfaces. I wanted to show what this looks like without a mouse. So to do this without a mouse, I'm going to hit Alt, and that brings up the menu. I could do down, and that brings me into each one of those menus, and I can do left and right to go into each of the menus in FreeDOS Edit. Now there's some neat features in here. The utilities has something interesting for programmers. If you're a programmer, this ASCII table would be interesting. So let's highlight that and press enter, and you can see that it brings up the ASCII table. This is a handy reference. If you are a programmer and you're looking for different escape codes for each of the characters in the ASCII table or extended ASCII table, as I navigate through the ASCII table with the cursor keys, you can see that the bottom line of this window is showing me the different ways to represent that character. And so that's an interesting reference if you're a programmer. Let's go ahead and look at editing text files. So to do that, let's go back into the menu. I'm going to hit Alt and go into File. So we'll go down, and I'm going to hit Return over New. And so here I have an empty file in the text editor. You don't have to do anything to start typing. You just start to type. And so let's go ahead and type something. This is a new file. Some neat things you can do with this. If I highlight this text, and I'm going to do that by holding down the Shift key and using the arrows, and I'm going to highlight everything I've just written, I can actually look at some statistics of what I've written so far. I could select everything in the file if I wanted to look at the entire document, but in this case, just this first line. So Alt, let's go over to Edit, and let's say stats of block. and this shows me on the bottom line of the window, I have typed 1 line, 5 words, and 19 bytes. Now, let's say I was typing a text file, and this was the start of a new section. I might want to have that in all caps. I didn't type it in all caps in this case, so let's go ahead and convert this to all caps. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to highlight that first line, and I'm going to go back into the menu, say Alt, and then over to Edit, and we're going to upcase that block. And so now that entire block has been turned into, this is a new file in all caps. Now, let's start typing some text. You could just say, you know, this
Да,
is
привет. Винда, да.
text.
Короче,
But what if you
да.
have really long lines? So you don't actually have to hit return on your own. You could just let the text editor do it by itself, right? So you could say this
А, ты
is
про... Не,
a
подожди.
really long
Я на винде, это не винда,
text,
это FreeDOS.
that will
Ну да,
go
винда. Старая
beyond
винда, можно
the
сказать.
right edge of the
Потом...
screen, but it doesn't wrap. Now, there's a couple ways that we could cause that to wrap. We could go in there and
Почему
hit enter
винда?
at the right spots and force it to break. One other way that we could do that is to highlight what we've just typed.
Почему
hold
винда?
down Shift,
Глянь мое
go
последнее
up,
видео, я
and
его
that will
буквально только
highlight,
что
the
запостил.
entire line. And if I go back into the menu, so
Там
we'll
я
say
объяснил.
Alt, and I'm going to go over to Edit,
Да, да, я
And
на
I'm gonna
винде.
highlight
Глянь,
the
глянь
paragraph.
последний видос мой.
and
Там
that will
объяснил.
automatically wrap that long line.
Там
Another way that you could
объяснил.
do this is if I go into Options, we'll go back into the menu with Alt, I'm going to go over to Options, and let's go down, and you can see we had word wrap turned off. So if we hit return on word wrap, then the more text that we type, it will automatically wrap for us. So let me hit end to go jump to the end of the screen. Now my long line should wrap if it reaches the right edge of the screen. And so that is another way that you can have it automatically wrap text for you. And you do that in the, as I said, in the options menu. So let's go back in the options menu just to show that. So go into options, hit down, and you can see that word wrap was selected. You could save that as an option all the time by going into save options, but in this case, let's go ahead and show that. There's other ways that you can have it show the screen. Now here I'm displaying it in color because most monitors today really are color. Some of you might not have a monitor that displays color very well, so in that case you might want to change it to mono. And you go then into display, and you can see here the different display options. I'm just going to show going into monochrome, which is black and white. I could also do reverse, which would be white on black, but let's go ahead and just show mono. So I'll go down to mono and press space, and that'll select mono. And if I hit return, it will now flip the entire screen into black and white. Let's go ahead and go back into the menu with Alt. We'll go over to Options.
Окей, просто это походу
Display.
подводит на уведомление.
And just to show what it looks like, let's
Давно
highlight
не видел.
reverse, press space there. hit
Так я
return,
только что
and you can
записал.
see
Да,
that
я,
it's, showing
я, если
everything
честно,
in,
давно
reverse.
записывал что-то.
Let's go back to color. So hit Alt to go into the
No.
menu, go over to Options, down to Display, and press space on color, hit return, and there we are.
Как вернулся?
And those are some of the features that you have in FreeDOS Edit. Let's go ahead and exit and do Menu with the Alt key into File. Let's save our work first, so we'll go down to Save. And let's save this as, we'll just type the file name as test.txt. And now it saved my file. And now if I go back into the menu with Alt, File, and then down to Exit.
Что-то невозможно работать.
And that's all there is with FreeDOS Edit for this week. So what else would you like me to talk about in future videos? Please all...
Ой, что-то не работает. Окей, сейчас посмотрю видос. Да, глянь. Конечно, бро. Кему консольная, ну, что тебе сказать? Ну да. Консольная, да. Это правда. Финиш. Так, окей, у меня есть кем, ушел дальше. Ага. Еще. Еще. Ну еще. Что дальше? О, какой нафиг, блин. Ладно, тогда, наверное, арч поставлю. Потом через него кему и, короче. Наверное, так, еще нет. А че нет? А, он уже есть. Ну, отлично. Так, создать. Linux. Восемь гигов, не знаю. Ох ты ж, чё ты такой здоровый, бро? Чё ты такой здоровенный, бро? Ты даже не помещаешься. Ты даже не помещаешься. Так, почему не юзаешь VMware? Оно ж платное, нет? Оно ж вроде платное. Dev, так, что там надо делать? А, ну я уже сделал. Так, write mkfs dev sd1. Так, mount dev sd1 tx trap sk nt base linux network grab network. Ой, извиняюсь. Нет, там небольшие ограничения на бесплатные, но она производительнее намного. Блин, скинь ссылку, я просто дебилизм. Да не, ну я могу типа сделать вообще вот так вот, смотри. Торрент. Да, ну. Там уже производительность. Я же не буду ничего компилировать даже. Наверное. Так, нафига наушники? Так, пас. Grab install dev as Cruzo. Так, grab config -o grab точка systemctl net manager. Все. Reboot. Не, подожди, power off. Ты мне уже... Да я же говорю, не, мне пофиг, типа. Я же говорю, если бы я компилировал, может быть, так мне не принципиально. Так, подожди. Этот идет, чувак, нафиг. Правда, блин, придется все-таки ставить графику, потому что... Так, окей, Pacman. Так, Pacman с кем? О, ну все. Тогда я понимаю. Че такой здоровый TTI? Пипец. Так, отлично. Кинул. Creating group. Okay. Понятно, тут еще, блин, непонятно, что делать с этим кему. Так. Кему. Окей, тут что-то есть. О, супер, тут есть System i386. Окей, она даже что-то сделала. Кему. Окей. Я вижу. Что за бред, пацаны? Ну вот, просто типа передаешь диск image. Но, блин, мне нужна графика, да. Жалко. Xorg, Xinit, Terminator, Firefox, i3, Vim. Уже глаза, блядь. Ладно, я, наверное, пойду. Все, всем ББ. Пишите комментарии. Всем пока. Пипец, что так долго? Все, давайте, пацаны.